Hey guys, welcome back. In today's video I'm going to do something a little different, and it is going to be a how to prepare your resin mask. So I'll have these Hannya masks going up for sale as a pre-order very shortly. They're probably already in my Etsy shop, so the link is in my description if you want to purchase one. And I'll just go through what you'll be getting in that pre-order. So you'll be getting a mask like this. So this will be the mask itself, and then you will be getting two horns to attach on top of the mask as well. So these are directly pulled out of the mold, so I haven't trimmed them or anything. And you can see how the horns will fit in the little indentations, so you can rotate them any way you want as well. But I'll just go through how to prepare it if you buy one. So what you're going to need is a sharp knife. There's no right or wrong way to do it, but I sort of like to do it this way. Is I just remove that flashing with that Stanley knife very, very carefully. So this little project or this little kit is for more advanced artists or project makers, so if you're quite young it might be a bit too difficult for you to do, but definitely if you want one, maybe send me a message just to see how difficult it is first, and then I can give you some info about how difficult it is. So after I've removed the flashing, I then go and smooth all the edges with my Dremel with a sanding tip, and I also remove any pointy bits inside the mask. So a quick look at the horns. So these are directly out of the mold as well, so you'll need to do some preparation in terms of sanding and stuff. This also has a couple of seam lines, so just trimming the seam lines down and sanding it down before applying any paint. So the same deal, there's no right or wrong way, so I just level out where the seam line is using my Stanley knife, and then I'll go and just sand it all down with my Dremel, and you can even use some sandpaper to smooth it even more, which you will do by hand. So doing a little test fit for where the horns will go, and you'll probably end up sanding it here, back and forth just to make sure everything fits properly, but yeah, at least you've got the right spacing and placement for the horns. So with the horns you can attach it any way you want, but the way I do it is I use some epoxy sculpt. And epoxy sculpt is like it's a two-part mix thing that you mix together, and it sets quite hard, so it's an epoxy sculpt. So you want to position your horns into the place that you want. So I'm just putting a little bit of epoxy sculpt into the little hole, and that way it will keep the horn in place. And if you want it a bit more sturdier, you could put like a piece of wire or something, but the mask itself isn't too thick, so I wouldn't really recommend doing that. I would just recommend sculpting where the horns go, and you want to put it the right way around too. So I just loaded up the underside of the horn with epoxy sculpt, and I'm just re-sculpting that connection to the mask and the horn itself, and just applying any texture that I think it needs as well, and making sure it's not too squished out as well, so it conforms with the horn. And then you want to go ahead and fill any tiny little air bubbles with that same epoxy sculpt. So resin casts, when you're not using a pressure pot, will have tiny little air bubbles. You can't really avoid it unless you're like a master, but it's impossible. So I just go in with a little needle tip tool and just put some of that epoxy sculpt inside the little bubble holes, but they're usually really tiny pinhole sized things, so it's kind of unavoidable in some circumstances. So what I like to do next, you don't have to do this, so I chose to do this. You can drill out the eye holes in your Hannya mask. So you can paint it black or whatever you want. You don't have to drill it out, but I like to drill it out. I just like the aesthetic look of it. So I'm just using just a handheld drill, cordless drill, and I'm using I think it was a 6mm sized drill bit. I might be wrong, but whatever you think works for your eyes anyway, if you want to drill them out. But it will need some sanding at the back of the eye because it will be sort of a little bit sharp because you've drilled away that resin. But it's not a big deal. It's really, really easy to do as well. And next up, I'm going to drill a little hole in the mouth area because I want to put like a little breathe hole. So if you're familiar with samurai armor, they have like a little slit for the breath to come through. So I'm going to start off using a drill, and then I'm going to drill it out, as you can see here, with my Dremel. It was quite difficult, but I have a steel carving bit which got through the resin. It just takes some time. And I also drilled some nasal holes as well with just my regular drill. So once everything's dry and ready and put together, you're going to want to coat your resin piece with a primer. So I use this white background paint. I'm pretty sure it's meant for a primer for canvas, but I find it works really well for resin pieces. It sticks to the resin really well and it provides a really nice tooth. So any paint job that you want to put on the surface will hold really nicely. So I just got this locally. I'm from Australia, so you'd have to look in the stores in the US, but I got this from our Riot art and craft stores that you can find throughout Australia. I'm pretty sure they still have it. It's by the brand Matisse. So and I actually water it down a little bit because it's gone quite thick because I'm coming to the end of it, so I will need to buy a new one. But I like to water it down just so I have a better coverage and it's not so gloopy as well, because that gloopiness will show in your paintwork anyway. So definitely if you find your paints too thick, water them down a little bit. It helps so much. So I also decided to try just a nose and mouth mask as well. So I botched one of the masks itself, so I decided to turn it into again, if you've seen samurai armor, you'll know it has not all of them, but some of them have like a little mask that goes over the nose and mouth. I thought it would look really awesome to do, so I just ended up trimming all of the mask off, and I actually sanded everything down, and I'll also painted it up, but stay tuned for that because I will put it in my shop, my Etsy shop, and I will make a new video for the paintwork as well. So this is what you'll be getting for the kit, the Hannya mask kit. It comes with the horns and the mask itself, so definitely check out my Etsy shop if you want to purchase one. And I'm also more than happy to actually do the processing and attaching the horns for you. If you do, just I'll have an option in my shop for processed or raw, which you can choose, and then I'll send it to you when you won't need to do any prep. You just need to go ahead and paint it. So this will be the prepped version. If you don't want any of the holes, do let me know as well, and I won't drill any for you. And I will also have some painted versions going up in my shop as well, so do keep an eye out for that. So that's it from me today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe. If you have any requests, you can leave it in the comments down below. You can also check me out on Instagram and Facebook at Creatures of Nat, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!